Season 2 of Apple's hit show, Severance, is back. And today I want to explore the idea of severance, a good concept but poor execution, and the top 3 major mistakes Lumen made in their severance program. Let's face it, companies today are obsessed with productivity. The work culture is now centered on a more robotic approach to certain jobs. Everywhere you look, automation and AI are replacing human effort. Customer service agents swapped out for chatbots, and robots handling warehouse work. But the nuance here is that companies want the rhythm of productivity without the blues of human complexity. Some companies go as far to use real human voices, but code AI to simulate ideal customer experiences, creating a false sense of security. It's all about squeezing every ounce of efficiency out of the system. The idea of a worker who's always on, completely free of emotions or distractions, is the ultimate fantasy for corporations. This brings us to the concept of severance. In theory, it's an interesting idea. Most people behave differently inside work and outside of it. Strict workplace procedures force us to put on a brave face every day, even if things aren't going well. Sometimes, we disassociate or zone out just to get through the workday. For those who would rather avoid the emotional toll, is severance such a bad idea? Wouldn't we all love to show up to work every day without trauma or external distractions? Imagine an environment centered around professional growth, while the life we get to live outside work is filled with relaxation, vacations, and binge-watching shows. You'd have the freedom, memories, and resources, aka money, to live the life you want. So, what went wrong with that concept? Mistake number 1, lack of purpose. They didn't give their employees' work any meaning. The innies don't know what they're doing or why it matters. Sure, at first, it might not seem like a big deal. Lots of us start jobs where we don't fully understand what's going on. But as the days drag on and the work becomes repetitive muscle memory and the mind is no longer stimulated, boredom starts creeping in, and workers may become a distraction. It's like in school. The person causing trouble is often the one who finished their work early and has nothing else to occupy them. In Season 2, we get some insight into the importance of the MDR team and how effective they were at meeting quotas. In Season 1, they were the only ones doing MDR, selecting numbers that didn't feel right, which, in hindsight, seems absurd. But in Season 2, we meet another team that stated they never reached quota. This highlights 1. How hard it is to achieve quota, and 2. How effective Mark's team was at meeting quota, while also uncovering Lumen's secrets. With these pieces coming together, it makes sense. Mark was a history professor, and Dylan is portrayed as very intelligent and the best in the group. At the end of Season 2, Episode 1, we see Ms. Casey's face on the screen. My prediction is that they are hinting at the possibility that Lumen is altering or suppressing certain behaviors or thoughts in employees that don't meet their standards. This raises questions about whether quotas exist to maintain control over innies and the severance procedure itself. However, all of that aside, people need to decide to show up every day, not just as their outie, but as their whole self, to make a difference. Mistake number 2, neglecting social connection. Humans are social by nature. Even the most introverted among us need some level of connection. But Lumen's sterile, isolating environment robs the innies of real relationships. What's left is an emotional void that no amount of waffle parties or finger traps can fill. This comes to a head when Mark loses his closest work friend, Petey. As we learn about Mark, we see he places high value on his relationships. Losing his wife rendered him incapable of working, and here, losing his friend caused his innie to spiral into a pattern of inability to focus solely on work. Even without memories, the human brain has the same responses to trauma. This loss caused Mark to start questioning everything. Mistake number 3, treating innies as tools, not people. Innies are treated as tools rather than individuals. Lumen silences their voices instead of creating opportunities for them to offer feedback or suggest improvements within the severed environment. Especially with such a new program, things aren't going to be perfect on the first try. Empowering innies to feel ownership over their work could have made the concept more successful. The most chilling part of Severance is this. Innies don't get to choose their existence. They're created as extensions of their outies' decisions. Unlike their outie counterparts, who have the freedom to explore life, question their purpose, and make choices, innies are stuck in a predefined role. This lack of choice strips them of what makes life meaningful. They don't get to wrestle with the big questions or experience the highs and lows that come with living. Instead, their existence boils down to checking boxes on someone else's to-do list. That's not a life. It's a tragedy. Severance isn't just a critique of modern work culture. It's a warning. It asks us what happens when we prioritize productivity over people, efficiency over empathy, and control over connection. So, would you take the chip? Or would you rather face the messy, unpredictable chaos of life with all its struggles and joys and find meaning in the imperfection?